Why is it so hard to be a Sonic fan? And I know that's like a first world problem sort of thing, you know. My series still gets games, unlike many other series which got mediocre entries and died off decades ago now. There's something to be said about how Sonic just keeps trucking on despite all of the mishaps he repeatedly endures. Like, I don't understand how they haven't managed to get it down pat yet over at Sega. They consistently make the same mistakes of releasing things too early. It's something you always hear, even if it's not obvious. The Sonic games always lack a polish that prevents them from reaching the heights that I think they're perfectly capable of. And it's very frustrating, especially when I went from an unassuming kid who loved every Sonic game I played due to a lack of a critical eye to the adult I am now, which I think I overanalyze things and I see the writing on the wall. Sonic just, the classic games, like they were rushing things as far back as Sonic 2. That game was made in under a year, and then Sonic 3 and Knuckles were originally one game, and they were split in two for a McDonald's promotion. They wanted a McDonald's promotion, and yeah, maybe that was good for the business overall, but it compromised some of the artistic integrity. They mostly got away with it because of genius marketing, but thinking about it now, if they ever stopped and just made a game in full, made sure it was fully polished, and then sent it out before sending it out prematurely, look at everything we've gotten in recent years from them, and it's... I don't have to say anything about Sonic 06, right? That was clearly released in order to capitalize on a Christmas market. I'm pretty sure it's well documented. I remember watching others talking about it, because I was too young to know about that sort of stuff going on behind the scenes at the time. And then you have Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, which I know that was outsourced, but why did they outsource it? And how much fault was Sega at for that in the first place? I remember before the game had come out, I was sort of excited to see this new take on Sonic because I like to think I'm a pretty open-minded person, and I just want to play Sonic games. I'm attached to the Blue Blur and all of his friends. I can only put up with so much, and I feel like the Sonic community at large is like that because Sega may have made a really good game with Sonic X Shadow Generations, right? There's still a couple inconsistencies that prevent it from being a truly polished experience. I see plenty of people saying we didn't get Westopolis or something like that because they already had the assets for Chaos Island. I don't know how much credence I should lend to those sort of things, but it wouldn't be the most far-fetched thing in the world knowing how much they rush through the development of games just to make a profit. It adds up with their behavior even if we have no concrete proof of it. And even if I don't necessarily want to believe in it, some part of me has some doubt that it is, in fact, maybe what happened. I haven't really seen a good reason someone's come up with for Shadow going to Chaos Island. And the best one I've seen... Oh, wow. They redid the bosses. The best reason I've seen is that they were just reusing assets. Of course, I'm not going to be the source on that, because that would be kind of goofy to do. It's just like food for thought, right? You don't... The only thing we know is the actions Sega has taken in the past. And in the past, they've shown that they were willing to rush games and not give them the time they need to be fully developed. Back when, like, around the storybook era in, like, '06, they were still attempting to be creative with the Sonic brand. And I appreciated their efforts even if there was a lot of floundering because with the storybook era, it was difficult to develop for the Wii. Only, if I recall correctly, first-party titles were the only ones that felt like they had great controls. Third-party games not developed in-house were always a bit more dicey. And, you know, that was completely new technology, so I can see why so many people struggled with it. I can understand why... I mean, I think the storybook era games were rushed too. Maybe they weren't thought out well enough, but once we got to Sonic 4, I think that's when Sega really threw in the towel and said, let's just nostalgia bait our audience. And that's incredibly frustrating. Oops. You can't just show me an old photograph over and over and say, remember this, and expect to spur the same feelings again and again. If you show it to me every time, I'm not going to be impressed by it anymore. And it's gotten particularly bad after Sonic Forces and Sonic Frontiers. Sonic Forces did not need to bring Green Hill back. I do think they brought it back for the reason of silent storytelling, where they showed us, here's this land you're familiar with, and look, it's ruined. So they don't have to explain, oh, Eggman messed everything up, because you can see everything is messed up. You see what he's done to Green Hill. It just felt pandering still. And then they do it again in Sonic Frontiers. We're like, oh, here's memories of your old stages. How many times have we been banking on old memories instead of making new ones? You have to have, like, some new stuff. At some point, people are not going to care for your brand anymore. At least that's what I think anyway. I don't know how long they would be able to just bank on nostalgia like they have been. And they're not entirely, because there is creativity in Sonic Frontiers. It's just another game that suffers from a rushed development cycle, in my opinion. It's just the sort of thing you can tell where the systems hadn't been given the love and space, time to breathe and grow as they should have, in order to make a thoroughly altogether system. I've already complained enough about the unnatural level progression, I guess you could say. Not entirely level progression, but just level design. It isn't fun to play the equivalent of a Mario Maker level where you see all the floating pieces. I just really want to see new. I'm tired of Green Hill. So many Sonic fans have said that, but it's true. I could probably go the rest of my life without another Green Hill. I've been, like, looking into all the Green Hills we've had in the Sonic series too, and that's just more proof that even from the beginning, they've really relied on that first, like, banger hit they made with Green Hill. They didn't bring back anything else from Sonic 1 as often as Green Hill. And Green Hill is the best designed thing in that game. I don't think anyone could honestly debate that in good faith, that the best part of Sonic 1 is Green Hill. But Sega need not remind us every single game, like, look at this, it's Green Hill. I know Green Hills aren't the most unique concept in the world, and of course they're going to borrow elements from old levels, but I am of the belief they borrow way too much. It's frustrating to watch them take this route of nostalgia pandering that sticks out. Like, it sticks out in Sonic Frontiers. What were the mini stages all about? Why did they copy the level design from previous stages? All throughout the history, too. Was that Sonic Generations 2 or something? And I know, like, the plot justifies why that happens, but they're the ones who wrote the plot so they could write in playing more Green Hill. Want to play new, unique stuff. Some of the best levels they've made after Sonic 1. Best first levels, I mean. City Escape is the obvious one of iconic level that's basically the antithesis to a Sonic starting level. Instead of Green Hills, you're going down in City Escape. You're going downhill. And Angel Island, I think, it takes plenty from Green Hill, but it's a jungle, so it's entirely different. And then the level progresses. It progresses into this fiery hellscape that shows Eggman's destruction and how he's ruining this place that was previously untouched. There's a lot of silent storytelling there. That's what makes Sonic 3 so good. The story they managed to tell through the setting. I haven't really seen them doing that because there's no story to be told with reimaginings of Green Hill over and over. I really want to know what the reason behind reusing level design in Sonic Frontiers was. Because there's really no good reason for that, I feel. What other good first levels have been in this? Sonic Unleashed's opening level, I think, is so iconic just because the drawing from reality was such a good idea to make that game have its own unique visual identity, separate from everything else in the series. I would like for them to do it again because it was so good. The levels look beautiful. And I also think that's the fastest Sonic game. I know we've veered a bit off topic from why it's so hard to be a Sonic fan, but me discussing my experiences with it and thoughts are just an expression of how much I actually do love this series through its ups and downs, as frustrating as they may be. It's so hard to love something or even someone that consistently lets you down. You know, you constantly tell them you need to change this behavior to be better. They sort of listen to you, but they never quite find their way, and you still see them falling into their old patterns again and again. It's beyond frustrating to see Sonic 06 and then Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. What's next, right? I don't entirely understand how it keeps happening. Who at the top is mismanaging it and constantly rushing out games? Because that's the biggest thing. There are people with passion in the Sonic development teams. Nobody wants to make a bad game. It's circumstances that make a bad game 9 times out of 10. I'm going to die here. Just the Sonic series is difficult to love because the games are rushed so often. So, you know, at least at the top, the executives don't care enough. They care about the money they're going to make, and I know you need money to run a business. But at what point can they no longer bank on the faith of their loyal fan base? Because Sonic fans are some of the most loyal in the entire series. Or sorry, not series. I mean to say entire world. They are diehard. Even the people who begrudgingly still like Sonic, like myself. Not even begrudgingly. I want to, but if I bought every Sonic game, I would have bought Sonic Forces on launch and been disappointed and wasted my money. There's that to consider too. You know, we don't have infinite money to go around. Of course I'm going to sit there and analyze their games and the trailers and, you know, wait for the game to actually release and then make a judgment in order to save my money. Even though I would have liked to play every single Sonic game released without a second thought. Money is only getting tighter in these times, so if they continue to make meh games, people aren't going to be able to justify taking that risk on Sega anymore, and I worry they won't continue to be here. And this would take decades of the economy failing us and them making mistakes over and over again. Well, people say the dark age is over for Sonic now because of Sonic X Shadow Generations. It's a great game. It is truly great. Of course, it's not perfect because no game is, but I still see some of those signs of rushed development in it that just irk me. Things that are just anti-consumer too, with the 3-day early release. I am not a fan of that because that means the game was ready 3 days early for everybody, but they chose to lock it behind a paywall. It's literally just behind a paywall for no reason. There's no reason for that. You cannot tell me that is a good reason or that's a good way to make more money. I just think it's so anti-consumer to say, well, this came out, but if you pay more money, you can play it earlier. I'm sure the only people who are going to defend it too are the people who paid for that. Am I missing something here? Why is it so hard to be a Sonic fan? Because of the games being so inconsistent, you struggle to have that just pure love for them, right? Due to that, what is going on here? I don't understand why I'm unable to make this jump. It's throwing me off my game really hard. I'll just go to a different stage. Because Sonic games have been so inconsistent over the years, people have a diverse array of opinions on them that go anywhere from I love every Sonic game and Sonic was always good to Sonic has never been good. Those are both extremes that I believe are incorrect because it's very rare that things are black and white like that. Most things in life rest in a gray area, and if things are ever white and black like that, you should either run or realize something's too good to be true. Life does not exist in shades of white and black. It's only grays. There's the extremists that get blown out of proportion by people on social media and everywhere, where they say something ridiculous potentially just for attention, and people run with it like that's the baseline opinion of the entire series. You have the diehard defenders, and then you have the people who were intent on damaging Sonic's reputation as much as possible. Well, what do you people want? I want the best possible game we could have gotten, and I'm entitled to my opinion. Do not be afraid to share your opinion, especially if, you know, it's yours. Because nobody can take that from you. Now, if your opinion's just informed by others, you know, you talk about a game and are just saying like, oh, well, I watched someone else talk about it and I'm regurgitating their opinions as my own in order to fit in or for whatever reason, that's wrong. And it's sometimes hard to tell the difference without digging a little deeper. Anyway, your opinions are valid within reason. Humanity is so complex, so is Sonic's legacy, isn't it? I've heard people say like Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 were not good, and I had a lot of fun playing as Sonic in those games, but as I've gotten older, I've come to realize the other play styles in those games were not as enjoyable. And when you buy a Sonic game, do you sign up for the treasure hunting or the Tails mech segments or the fishing in Sonic Adventure 1 is big? No, you don't. But what do you even sign up for when you buy a game? Before, we sort of just bought games with minimal knowledge on them because before the age of the internet, nobody knew what was what. You saw a game on a shelf, you read it, its back cover, and maybe its manual, and then you would play it. Find out if you liked it from there. Now everyone's opinions are so widespread that it muddies the water and really dilutes your own if you let it. That's a big key thing too with why it's so hard to be a Sonic fan. Other people are going to dilute your own opinions through their buzz in your head, the things they have to say, if you listen to them, right? You have to take it to heart or maybe take offense from it, and if you just don't do that, you can maintain your own identity and be unique, which I think is important. It's important as a human being to be unique to us. And not unique in the I'm different than everybody, but unique in the sense that I am me and nobody else. The way people interpret me is not me. I am me. This is veering quite far from Sonic in subject, but this is the sort of person I am where everything gets connected in some way. And it's so difficult to be a Sonic fan in part because of how open-minded I try to be. I always avoid being ignorant with things by experiencing them myself, getting multiple perspectives, trying to consider both sides, and even playing devil's advocate and think, you know, what if I had done wrong here? Or what if I did say the wrong thing when I'm 99% sure I did say the right thing? Other people's opinions and Sega's inability to release consistently quality products is why it's hard to be a Sonic fan. But is there any more to it than that? Sega does care about Sonic. They care about Sonic in a way Mario doesn't. Yeah, comparing Mario and Sonic is a dangerous thing, but I'm going to do it anyway because comparisons are a great way to get a point across, even if they're not always the most apt. Mario games are developed and polished until they shine from every angle. They have bugs too, but even if there are bugs, usually the rest of the game's quality is so supreme that you can just trust the Mario brand. You can trust the Mario brand to give you a quality experience, even if you don't personally enjoy it. Oh my god, I'm having a massive brain fart. People trust Mario to make good games the same way people go to McDonald's for burgers. Sonic is more up in the air. You know, like going to your local restaurant. There's potentially great stuff there, but maybe there's a reason why they've never become more than a local delicacy. So maybe they're not that much of a delicacy at all. Or maybe people just don't understand. The secret is it's everything. It's all of those at once. The reason why I say that, Sonic or Sega cares about Sonic in a different way than Mario that's still admirable is because of how they allow fan creations like this to exist without copyright striking them down. With Nintendo, they want you to buy their products and no others, it feels like. It's not even just a feeling. They take down all sorts of passion projects all the time. It's sad every single time we see it. It's so disheartening because it's sometimes stuff that they had no intent of ever coming back to. But it's just them guarding their IP to guard it. Whereas with Sega, they allow every fan project to exist, barring a few exceptions I may not be knowledgeable about. If you've been seeing this game and the quality level design involved, this is some 10 out of 10 stuff if you like classic Sonic. Should I continue ranting on and on about stuff in my unorganized way? Is there much more to say about Sonic than that? Honestly thought I would go on longer than this. But you know, I guess my Sonic autism does have its limits. That's another thing I want to mention too. Liking Sonic is often correlated with being autistic in some way, or at least it's like a running joke on the internet. And I find that really interesting. I've heard some people say, you know, it's like, oh, the sort of things Sonic represents where, you know, he can never stay in one place for too long, and they resonate with that. Sonic is a great thing that deserves to exist in the best possible form it can be in. And the fans will realize that where Sega doesn't, even if Sega lets Sonic down. Sonic may not be a household name a century from now, but we will have played and enjoyed him in the now, and he will have meant a lot to many people and contributed to their growth as people. Same way any game can. You know, this is unrelated to Sonic, but it's unbelievable that there's people who are so ignorant that they think video games are simply a waste of time. The same people probably said those things about stories in general, like books when they were new, and they said the same thing about TV shows, that they were vapid and worth nothing. All these people couldn't be more further from the truth. These games teach, and they make the teaching experience fun. All the stories that get told in any kind of media are so beautiful because we live in such a peaceful time period that people are able to focus on art instead of survival. Even though there are so many people who are still forced to survive, it's a miracle that so many people are able to create the way they are instead of worrying about defending their homestead or running their farm or just, you know, living. Things have gotten so much easier and convenient for so many people because the art really does develop the human species as a whole, and that's why I think it's so bad the way businesses and art interact. They're at odds with one another. When art is sold, it no longer is art for art's sake, it's art for money's sake. And everybody needs money because money represents your livelihood and, you know, some extent too, like your social standing. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to go there. This is about Sonic. Sonic is great. Sonic is art, but Sonic is also a business. The business side of Sonic is what brings the art of Sonic down. Sonic is, was, and always will be so much to so many people, especially me, no matter what people say. Until the day people have all but forgotten about him, and that's going to be long, long away from now. He has the staying power of Mario, even if his games aren't as consistent. What would it take for Sonic to become more consistent? What would teach the Sega executives the message that their games need time to breathe? But I think I'm going to leave it at that because I've said enough and I'm starting to ramble. Let me know if you like this style of video where I just throw something out. I was feeling burned out from working on my analysis after typing 2/3 of the script in 6 hours or something like that. I take breaks, don't worry. But I just have a lot of thoughts about Sonic lately, and they're probably not going to be here in as raw form once I get to playing Mario and Luigi Brothership in the coming days. If you enjoyed this, thank you. I never thought people would want to sit here and listen to me just talk, but I thought to try it because why not? If you like, maybe I'll do more like this. If not, I'll stick to my analysis and shorts that I have been doing. Thank you for your time and have a good day.